Hey guys, hope you're doing well. This is Jason from Dream Canada. If you're a Canadian PR holder or a Canadian citizen, or even if you're thinking about getting your Canada PR and moving to Canada, then you must have definitely thought at one point of time if you'll be able to take your family along with you so that you guys can start a new life in Canada, right? But is it really that easy? Can you actually sponsor your spouse or your common law partner or even your dependent children who are in your home country and help them in getting their PR? I'm here to tell you that yes, this is possible. You can do this now. Canada has opened up their sponsorship program where you can sponsor your spouse, your common law partner, and even your dependent children who are in your home country, and you can get their PR for them so that they can come and live with you in Canada. The great news is that Canada aims to process these spousal sponsorship applications in less than 12 months, which is a huge improvement in processing timelines compared to the past processing timelines, which were quite irregular and indefinite. Canada will continue to process up to 6,000 spousal sponsorship applications every month in this year, and in the coming years, around 80,000 applications per year under the spousal, partner, and child category. This information was made public recently by IRCC in their 2021 to 2023 immigration levels plan that will gradually see the levels of newcomers rising significantly. Now, most of these applications would be under the spousal sponsorship program, so I'm going to tell you exactly how you can sponsor your spouse and your child if needed, all the requirements, the fees, the processing time, and the 5 steps that you have to follow, along with where you can get your application package and where you have to mail your application package for your sponsorship application. For those of you who are new to the channel, do remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you get notified every time I update a new immigration video. I've also provided my social links, my Instagram and Twitter handles in the description box and above. And you guys have been reaching out to me with all sorts of immigration queries and your individual cases as well. I do respond to all the comments on the videos and also the Instagram messages that you guys send, the Twitter messages that you guys send across. I'm trying to reach out to everyone. I'm trying to reply to each one that's messaged, but it's gonna take a little time for me to get back at you because I've been receiving a lot of queries and it just takes a little time to go through each one of your queries and your cases so that I can get back to you with your appropriate answers. So do bear with me. I do read all your comments and I do read all your messages, and I'm going to reply to each one individually, and I'm trying my best to answer all your queries as clearly and concisely as possible. So without wasting any more time, let's move on to how you can sponsor your spouse, your partner, or your child for their Canada PR. Now let me first tell you who exactly can sponsor their spouse for their permanent residence. Both Canadian citizens and permanent residents can sponsor their partners to obtain permanent residence. So you don't really have to be a citizen. Even if you have a PR status, you can sponsor your spouse for their PR application. Both the sponsor and the person that they are sponsoring must show IRCC that their relationship falls under any one of the following 3 categories, which are the spousal category, which is a normal ceremonial marriage, a common law partner, which may be a non-ceremonial or informal marriage, or a conjugal partner, which is a person who is living outside Canada in a conjugal relationship with the sponsor for at least a period of 1 year, and they could not live with the sponsor as a couple because of reasons beyond their control, for example, any immigration barriers, religious reasons, etc. A sponsor must be at least 18 years old. They must prove that they are not receiving social assistance for a reason any other than a disability, and must demonstrate that they are able to financially provide for the basic needs of their spouse or partner. If you're a Canadian citizen living abroad, you also need to prove your plan to live in Canada with the person you aim to sponsor. Now that you know who can sponsor their spouse or partner, let me also tell you about the eligibility criteria that their partners have to meet as well. If you're sponsoring your spouse, they must be legally married to you and be at least 18 years of age. If you're sponsoring a common law partner, they must be at least 18 years of age and must have lived with you for at least 12 months at a stretch. If you're sponsoring a conjugal partner, they must be at least 18 years of age. They must have been in a relationship with you for at least 1 year. They must be living outside Canada at the moment, and they must have fair reasoning for being away from you and not being able to marry you due to some genuine causes. For example, if they live in a country where same-sex marriage or divorce is not allowed. In such cases, you need to prove to IRCC that you could not live together or get married in your partner's country for these genuine reasons. You can even sponsor your dependent children who are living outside Canada. Your child or the child of your spouse or common law partner can be considered a dependent child if that child is under 22 years old and if they don't have any spouse or common law partner. If they are over 22 years of age, they must have depended on their parents for financial support before the age of 22 and they are unable to financially support themselves because of a mental or physical condition. When you agree to be a sponsor, you must sign an undertaking promising to give financial support for the basic needs of your spouse or partner and their dependent children. This financial support has to cover expenses for food, clothing, shelter, and other needs for everyday living, along with dental care, eye care, and other health needs that aren't covered by public health services. As a sponsor, you must make sure that the people you sponsor won't need to ask the government for financial help in the form of any benefits, etc. If they do need to receive any social assistance or benefits, you will have to pay back all the money as a sponsor that they have received during the time that you are legally responsible for them. The undertaking that you sign is a binding promise of support, which means that it's your responsibility as a sponsor to support the applicants for the length of the undertaking period, even if your situation changes. So, the undertaking will stay in effect for the length of the undertaking period, even if your situation changes. The undertaking won't be cancelled even if the person you sponsor becomes a Canadian citizen, or you get divorced, separated, or your relationship with the sponsored person breaks down, or you or the person you sponsor move to another province or another country, or even if you have financial problems. The length of your undertaking and your obligations as a sponsor start as soon as the undertaking is in effect. If you're sponsoring a spouse, common law partner, or conjugal partner, the length of your undertaking is 3 years from the day your spouse, common law partner, or conjugal partner becomes a permanent resident. If you're sponsoring a dependent child over 22 years of age, the length of your undertaking is 3 years from the day your dependent child or the dependent child of your spouse, common law partner, or conjugal partner who's over 22 years of age becomes a permanent resident. If you're sponsoring a dependent child under 22 years of age, the length of your undertaking is 10 years from the day that your dependent child or the dependent child of your spouse, common law partner, or conjugal partner who's under 22 years of age becomes a permanent resident, or until the child becomes 22 years of age, whichever comes first. Now let me tell you the 5 simple steps which you have to follow. Step 1 is getting your application package from the IRCC website, which will include your checklist, forms, and detailed instructions to follow. You'll get the right set of checklist and forms based on the details that you enter in the drop-down menus. Your checklist will tell you exactly which forms you'll need, which documents you must submit, and even instructions on filling out each form. You must print, fill out, and submit a copy of this checklist with your application. Place it at the top as the cover of your application. Now that you know which documents you'll need with the help of your checklist, the second step would be to gather these documents together. Kindly note that if you don't include all the requested forms and documents listed on your particular checklist, IRCC will return your application without processing it. If you're unable to submit a particular document from the checklist for whatever reason, you must include a detailed explanation of why you can't submit this document so that your application is not returned as incomplete. I won't be able to tell you your specific documents required, as each checklist will mention different documents based on your individual profile, the country you're applying from, and the country that the person being sponsored currently lives in. If your documents are not in English or French, you'll need to upload the English or French translation along with an affidavit from the person who completed the translation and a certified copy of the original document. After you've collected all the documents mentioned on your checklist, the third step would be to fill out the application forms. This would include your sponsorship agreement and undertaking, sponsorship evaluation, relationship questionnaire, background declarations, financial evaluations, and any other forms as your individual profile may require. After you've filled in all your forms, the next step would be paying your sponsorship fee. It's strongly recommended that you pay the right of permanent resident fee or PR fee at this stage as well to avoid any future delays. Kindly note that this fee is refundable if your spouse or common law partner or child don't become permanent residents. In this case, the total fee to sponsor your spouse or partner, including their PR fee, would be 1,050 Canadian dollars. The total fee to sponsor your dependent child would be 150 Canadian dollars per child, and the biometrics fee would be $85 per person. After you complete your payment, you'll get an IRCC official receipt with a barcode. You should print 2 copies of this receipt, one to be attached with your application as payment proof and one for your personal records. Now that you've finished preparing your application, the last step is to submit it for processing. You have to submit your application package with all the requested documents in a stamped envelope to the appropriate address below. Do make sure that you follow these steps while mailing your sponsorship application to IRCC. You'll have to place a copy of the checklist on top of your complete application package. This will make sure that the application can be processed as quickly as possible when it arrives at the IRCC office. If you're applying under the spouse or common law partner in Canada class and the person you're sponsoring is also applying for an open work permit, do place the work permit application form and documents and the work permit fee payment receipt after the checklist. So the order of your documents should be: first your checklist, followed by your spouse's or partner's open work permit application and supporting documents, only if applicable, followed by any barcode pages, and lastly any supporting documents in the order that they are listed on your checklist. After you apply, if your application has all the requested forms and documents, you'll get an email or a letter confirming that your application has been accepted for processing. You'll get to know the status of your application on your online account or your registered email address. If your sponsorship undertaking is approved, IRCC will send the application for permanent residence to the appropriate processing office for any further review. If your sponsorship undertaking is refused, you'll get an email or a letter explaining why this has been refused. IRCC will send you and each family member a request to complete a medical exam at an appropriate time during the processing period. This request will include instructions about what to do and where to complete your medical tests. The whole processing timeline is generally done in around 12 months. Alright guys, that was all the information on how you can sponsor your spouse, your common law partner or your child for their PR. As always, if you have any questions or queries, do remember to comment below. I answer all your questions and all your queries. I've also provided my Instagram and Twitter handles in the description and above, so you can reach out to me with any queries that you may have there as well. Do remember to like this video if you like the content in the video, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated with Canadian immigration processes. I wish you guys the best of luck for your application and hope you have a great day.